Hey there, it's Jasper from Presley here today with a video on how to do effective media outreach for your PR. So we get asked very often how people can improve their media outreach. A lot of times PR pros will send out outreach hoping to get a lot of coverage from it and usually just falls on deaf ears and they don't get many responses. So what I'm doing here is I'm going to be referencing this article that we wrote on the topic. I'm going to go through a couple examples as to what would make a media outreach strategy not work and then share with you our 4-step process for actually doing media outreach that is effective. So getting into it, here is that 4-step process that I'll be talking about later, right? The first one is to make sure that you have a strong contact management system. I'll explain more about what that means later. Second is to properly do your research on your outreach. Third is to reach out like a person, right? A lot of times we'll see emails that aren't very human oriented in how they're sent. And then the last is to actually be ready for follow-up when it does come. So before I get into that 4 steps, I'll just kind of reiterate why we, at Presley at least, see media outreach often not work for a lot of different PR pros. Then you can go through the 3 steps here in this article. I definitely recommend you check it out. But in short, really the main reasoning is that either your story isn't as interesting as it could be in the way you're framing it, you're not reaching out to the right people, or you're reaching out to the right people, but just in the wrong ways, right? And so generally, if you look at that, those 3 different issues and you want one fundamental theme on why media outreach doesn't work, it's because it's not following this 4-step process of having research and actual proper preparation done involved before doing the outreach. So now I'll get into that 4-step process. So step 1 is having a strong contact management system. What we mean by that is some sort of database where you actually import all of your contacts and not only just have a list of emails, but also have them tagged and grouped by certain categories of who they are, and you keep track of your past relationship and interactions with them. Now, there are a lot of tools to do that. At Presley, we do have a built-in PR CRM. It is one of the only actually dedicated PR CRMs out there, but there are plenty of CRM tools you can use if you want to just create a basic contact management system. But at Presley, for example, if you import your contacts, you can group different journalists by what companies they're with, what types of media they usually coverage, and you can also see all of their past interactions that they've had with you. So making sure you have something like that in place is really important because when you're actually doing your media outreach, you'll be able to group people by those who are going to be most receptive to your messaging and not just any general journalists that could be covering your story. So step 2 here is to do your research. So a lot of times we'll see very generic media outreach that isn't very researched. And the issue with that is that if somebody's reading an email from you that doesn't have any research behind it, they're not going to feel like the messaging is really tailored for them. It's going to feel like they're getting a sales pitch, and it's going to feel very impersonal, and they're not going to see any reason for replying, right? If they're not seeing any effort on your part, then they're not going to want to put in the effort on their part to actually reply to your outreach. Third one here is to reach out like a human being. So even if you've done a lot of research and you've written an email that has all the right things in it, if it sounds robotic or too professional or too salesy or whatever it is, people aren't going to want to respond because they're not going to feel excited to work with you. And so oftentimes what we'll suggest is when you're doing media outreach that's reaching out to plenty of people at once with an email, act as if you're writing a one-to-one email directly to a person and think about exactly what you would say if you were directly reaching out to one person, and then think about how you can carry on that level of human interaction in a mass way, right? In a scalable way. So at Presley, with our email outreach tool, we have personalization tags built in so you can make your emails more personal. And little touches like that really do make a difference in people feeling like you're actually reaching out directly to them. On top of that, make sure not to use overly formal language if it's not necessary, right? That does depend on industry. And always just make sure to actually have human sounding messaging in your email when relevant. Okay, and the last step here is to actually be ready for follow-up. So what that means is that if you are getting this follow-up, right, and we have this example here, right, if you promise an interview with a CEO, you need to make sure that their calendar is clear, right? If you said that you'd get quotes, pictures, or other deliverables, then you should make sure that you actually have those ready. So just be prepared when you do get follow-up, because the last thing you want is for somebody to reply to your media outreach and then for you not to actually be able to deliver on the promises that you made in your email pitch. So that's really the 4-step process. We do have in this article, which I'd recommend you check out, we do have a template for doing effective media outreach, and we also have some examples. And in these 2 examples, really what we're showcasing here is pitch email number 1 here in this example is a bad media outreach email, and pitch number 2 is a solid one. And the main differentiator is that this one is very focused on Steve, who's writing the email, whereas number 2 is focused on the person that's being reached out to. So you can see here, right, the subject line is, you don't want to be friends with me. And it says, I've written 16 emails to you and I haven't heard back. I want you to cover my story. And the person receiving it's not really going to feel like you're actually trying to make a connection with them, right? Whereas pitch email 2, there's actually some effort being put in to building a relationship and recognizing the work that the journalist has done. right? They've come across your articles a couple times. They recently donated $15,000 to a school that they feel like is relevant to the work that they've done because they have a history of work in positive human interest stories. And it all just sounds much more tailored to the actual person being reached out to. So in summary, that's really how you can do more effective media outreach strategy. Just really think about the person that you're reaching out to and how you can provide as much value to them as possible. That is about all we have to share here. Again, definitely go into this article so you can look at this template we have and you can go into the finer details of everything I've mentioned here in this video. But of course, if you do have any questions on how to do better media outreach strategy, we are here to strategically help you out with that. You can reach out to us directly, reach out to our support on our site, leave a comment here. We're more than happy to help you out with being more effective in this. And if there's anything we can add into this article to make it more effective for you in doing better media outreach strategy, definitely let us know. Sometimes we think about having different templates that people can use, different examples. So if you want those, reach out, let us know, and we'd be more than happy to share them. Otherwise, if you are looking for a media outreach tool or a contact management system, definitely check out Presley. We have a 14-day free trial, no credit card required. So take a look at Presley if that is something you're interested in. And otherwise, hope it was helpful. All right, have a great day. Thanks. Bye.